Chapter 10. Going back on my word. Jianran's heart skipped a beat when she heard Ling Feiyu's words. She seriously recalled the situation on the day of the blind date. That day, Qin Yue had directly walked over to look for her. She should not have made a mistake. Ranran? Ling Feiyu nervously grabbed Jianran's hand. Quickly tell me what is going on. She was really worried that this silly lass Jianran would be foolishly tricked by the big liar. Jianran told Ling Feiyu in detail about the blind date, the marriage registration, and the fact that Qin Yue was her company's new CEO. Ling Feiyu's eyeballs almost popped out when she heard it. Jianran, what should I say to you? Ling Feiyu took back the iPad that was left at the side and quickly opened the web page to search for Innovation Technology CEO Qin Yu. She nagged as she said, I think that Qin Yu must be a bald, big-bellied old man. How can he be worthy of such a beauty like you? Before she could finish speaking, Ling Feiyu was stunned by the pictures on the internet. Although there were only 2 pictures of Qin Yue at the press conference the day he took office, it was enough to clearly see his stunning appearance. Ling Feiyu said excitedly, Oh my God, give me a slap and let me know that it is not a dream. Jianran obediently slapped Ling Feiyu's back. He is the person you saw. Ling Feiyu waved her arms and legs and said, Such a handsome man, the key is that such a capable man became your husband. You are unlucky. So many years, are you lucky now? Jianran did not have the mood to joke with Ling Feiyu and asked, You said that you did not introduce Qin Yue to me? Ling Feiyu said, Actually, it can also be considered as an indirect introduction. He is a client of my studio. He told me that there are some good men around him, and I thought of you when I heard it. So? Jianran grabbed the pillow on the sofa and threw it at Ling Feiyu. Just how worried are you that I will not be able to get married? It's not that I'm worried that you won't be able to get married, but I'm worried that you won't be willing to get married. Ling Feiyu suddenly hugged Jianran. She was happy and sad. Ranran, you must live a happier life than anyone else. Make those who look down on you regret it. Jianran patted Ling Feiyu's back and gently said, Feiyu, what happened in the past has already passed. I will not add another set of shackles to myself and trap myself. I will live happily. It is not because of how others look at me. It is just because of myself. Ling Feiyu was very happy that Jianran could think like this. She quickly went to the fridge to get 2 cans of beer. Happy wedding. You must be blessed in the future. If that Qin Yu kid dares to bully you, don't be afraid with me around. Jianran was still very satisfied when she talked about Qin Yue. Her sparkling eyes were filled with a bit of a smile. Although we don't have love, I believe in his character. I think our marriage should be fine. That night, Jianran and Ling Feiyu chatted for a long time. They talked until the sky was already bright and did not finish. But after an all-nighter of long talk, Ling Feiyu could be considered to have completely relaxed her heart. It was really good that Jianran was willing to open her heart and accept other people. Jianran did not sleep all night. She still got up early to pack up and go to the company. For work, she saw that it was more important than anything else. No matter how tired she was, she would not allow herself to leave work behind. At noon, when Qin Yue waited for Jianran to eat with him, he saw that Jianran was not as energetic as usual. After eating, he said thoughtfully, Jianran, there is a room to rest here. You go and rest for an hour. Jianran opened her mouth and wanted to say that there was no need to trouble her, but when she met Qin Yue's concerned eyes, she forcefully swallowed her words back. Although there was no love, as her husband, Qin Yue was extremely qualified. He also really cared about her. Furthermore, she did not have a good spirit, so her work efficiency would naturally decrease. Jianran understood this logic. The resting room was next door to room 1808. The renovation was very simple and refreshing, giving people a very comfortable feeling. Qin Yue closed the curtains of the room, and the room instantly became much darker. In an instant, Jianran felt even more sleepy. Qin Yue walked back to the bed and sat down. He pulled the blanket over Jianran and said, Go to sleep. I will wake you up when the time comes. Jianran tried her best to open her eyes, which were about to close. Don't you want to sleep? Qin Yue said, I slept very well last night. I'm not sleepy today. All right, Jianran nodded obediently and fell asleep not long after lying in bed. Qin Yue sat by the bed and did not leave. His 2 deep eyes looked at Jianran seriously. In Qin Yue's eyes, Jianran was not a stunning woman that could be seen at a glance. She was a type of beauty that was more beautiful the more he looked at her. Her beautiful eyebrows were like a painting. Her eyelashes were long, and her eyes were crystal clear. Her skin was white like jade, and she had a well-proportioned figure. Usually she looked gentle, but there was a strong tenacity in her bones. It was her seemingly gentle but very strong temperament that attracted his gaze. It made him feel that living with her should not be bad. Jianran slept at ease. She believed that Qin Yue would definitely wake her up on time. Who knew that once she woke up, it was already dark. Tomorrow was the opening day of the Starlight Company's bidding program, but she made such a mistake the day before. Jianran was in a bad mood. She bit her lip and looked at Qin Yue angrily. Qin Yue, on the other hand, had a calm expression. I asked Special Assistant Xu to help you apply for leave. You guys have prepared well for the Starlight Company project. You don't have to worry. Even if Jianran had a stomach full of anger, the company's big boss had already spoken. How could she still be angry? However, she still could not easily compromise and said, "Next time, you can't be like this again." In life, Jianran was very easy to talk to, but when it was related to work, she had very strict requirements for herself. Qingyue nodded. "Then let's go eat dinner first." Jianran turned around and walked out, muttering softly. "Is it that men like to lie?" Hearing Jianran's words, Qinyue's face darkened. He wanted to explain, but he still did not say anything. Although he saw that Jianran was too tired and wanted her to rest for a while, he did not keep his word. It took about half a month for the Starlight Company to open the bidding for the item. Innovation Technology Company had obtained the Starlight's bidding with an absolute advantage. In order to reward everyone, CEO's special assistant Shu sent an email. Tomorrow, the company will pay a fee to organize a 2-day trip to Bahai Manor. When they heard this news, everyone in the company was boiling with excitement. Bahai Manor was one of the top tourist and leisure products developed by the richest man in Asia, Shengtian Group. It included the guest area, golf area, natural spring area, and various kinds of entertainment facilities. It was said that the price of one night's housing was so expensive that ordinary people did not dare to think about it. The guests were all super wealthy merchants and visiting heads of state. Other than the employees of Shengtian Group, there had never been any company's employees who could enjoy such luxurious treatment. Chapter 11. You want me to go? When everyone was very excited, they didn't forget their CEO. For a moment, whether or not CEO would participate in this event became the focus of everyone's attention. While her colleagues were thinking about this problem, Jianran was also thinking about Qinyue in her heart. Qinyue was away on a business trip this week. She had not seen him for a few days. When could he come back? Although he would call back on time every night, her relationship with him hadn't reached the point where they could talk about anything. Many times, the two people on both ends of the phone were silent. At this time, someone posted an event in the company's activity group, betting whether CEO would participate in this event. Each participant offered 500 yuan. $500 was not much, and for a moment, many people participated. Almost all of the people in the inner circle had participated. Half of them thought that CEO would go, and the other half thought that he would not go. Lin Mei and Wang Weiming ran to Jianran at the same time and asked with great interest, "Jianran, do you want to bet?" Jianran carefully analyzed it. Although Qinyu had a cold personality, this was the first time the company organized such a big event after he took office. Moreover, they went to such a luxurious place. He should have instructed Special Assistant Shu to prepare it and bet with Lin Mei and the others that Qinyu would participate. When they were about to get off work, Jianran received a call from Qinyu. She knew that he had returned from a business trip. So, after Jianran got off work, she went to the supermarket to buy ingredients and some daily necessities and snacks for tomorrow's trip. Back home, Qinyu was still busy in the study. Jianran greeted him and then busied herself preparing dinner. When they were eating, Qinyu still did not make a sound and ate elegantly. Jianran peeked at him a few times and finally mustered her courage to ask, "Qinyu, will you participate in the activity organized by the company tomorrow?" Qinyu did not seem to hear her question and continued to eat seriously. He did not answer. Jianran was a little embarrassed and lowered her head to eat again. After a long time, Qinyu put down his chopsticks, picked up a tissue to wipe his mouth, and casually replied, "I am not interested in this kind of activity." Qinyu did not directly say that he would not go, but this clearly indicated that he would not go. "Oh," Jianran said softly, and her voice could not hide her disappointment. "What is it? You want me to go?" Seeing Jianran's disappointed expression, Qinyu suddenly said this sentence again. Jianran scratched her head and giggled. She secretly thought, "It doesn't matter if you go or not. What I care about is the $500 I bet." Under the bright chandelier light, Qinyu raised his eyebrows slightly. Since she wanted him to go, as her husband, he would take some time to go. The next day, Jianran woke up early in the morning, but Qinyu was still earlier than her. They had been living together for some time now. No matter how early she woke up, when she woke up, Qinyu was already dressed and sitting by the window reading the financial newspaper. Sometimes, Jianran felt that Qinyu did not seem like someone who lived in this era. His lifestyle was very regular. Every day, he would take the time to read the newspaper that was about to be obsolete and not get information through the internet. "Get up!" He raised his head to look at her, then lowered his head to read the newspaper. Morning." Jianran looked at him and could not move her gaze away. He was wearing a white casual outfit today. He sat quietly on the sofa by the window, with his long legs crossed casually. The morning sun shone gently on his body through the window, making him look a little warmer. This man was simply not human, but a rare piece of art in the world. He was so handsome that she wanted to keep him. Jianran's burning gaze attracted Qinyue's attention. However, he ignored her and still calmly read the newspaper in his hand. His appearance often attracted countless infatuated gazes, making him very disgusted. However, he did not hate Jianran looking at him like this. After a long while, Jianran's gaze still did not leave. He raised his head. He looked at her. Aren't you going to participate in the company's activities? I almost forgot if you didn't say it. Jianran smiled awkwardly and randomly found an excuse. She was thinking that a piece of art like Qinyue could be sold for a good price. Qinyue's voice was like a bucket of cold water that woke her up. The company rented 2 50-seat buses and sent their colleagues to the Beihai Manor's sacred land for vacation. When the department head was counting the number of people, everyone's eyes were looking left and right. They were all looking to see if CEO would come or not. Lin Mei said beside Jianran, God bless, CEO must come, must come. Jianran blurted out, he will not come. Lin Mei widened her eyes and looked at Jianran. How did you know? Jianran realized that she had slipped up and immediately added, CEO is usually very punctual. He hasn't come today, so he definitely won't come. Lin Mei lowered her head in disappointment, and the female colleague beside her also sighed in disappointment. The female colleagues were very clear that they usually did not see CEO at work and did not have the chance to show off in front of him. This trip was an opportunity. Everyone took out their beautiful clothes and wanted to show their faces in front of CEO, but he would not come. After more than an hour, the bus arrived at the Beihai Manor by the sea. The first thing they did when they arrived was to get a room card. Jianran originally had the same room as Lin Mei, but Xu Hui suddenly stood out. Jianran, the rooms here are not enough. You can stay in the same room with me. Xu Hui was the popular person besides CEO, and Jianran was appointed by her to stay in the same room, which made everyone envious. When everyone was busy getting their room cards, Xu Hui said, Everyone, please wait. Boss Qin wants to talk to everyone. Boss Qin. Everyone's eyes lit up. Did Boss Qin really come? Under everyone's expectant gaze, Qinyue, who was wearing a silver-gray hand-cut suit, slowly walked out from the door. Every step he took caused the hearts of the female colleagues to pound. Jianran saw Qinyue appear and thought that not only was the $500 she had bet still there, she could also win a few hundred more. She was very happy. When Qinyue's gaze swept over, he saw that Jianran was smiling very brightly. He thought that even if he just spent some time to go through the motions, he could still make her so happy. He walked over and smiled politely at the crowd. Everyone, have fun and eat as much as you want. The company will be responsible for all the expenses. Everyone jumped up in excitement and almost called CEO. Long live CEO. Only Jianran stood quietly at the back. She thought in her heart that he was really rich and could do whatever he wanted. Xu Hui made up an excuse to say that the rooms here were divided and then led Jianran on the tour bus to the independent villa area of the resort. Jianran felt a little nervous when she saw the layout and facilities here. Could it be that Xu Hui brought her here for another purpose? Jianran's guess was right. Xu Yi sent her to Qinyue's private residence. Chapter 12. A Woman Who Bites an Apple. They pushed open a wooden door and went in and saw a large patch of lawn, and then they went in, and there were pavilions, rockery, fountains, sea of flowers. Jianran followed Xu Hai for a long time before she saw a 3-story French-style building. The interior of the building was simple, and it was close to the natural decoration style. It matched the style of Qinyue that Jianran knew. Along the way, Jianran could not help but sigh. This place was so beautiful that it was like a paradise. If she could live here frequently, she should be able to live for a few more years. Xu Yi did not enter the house but stood at the door and said, Since Boss Qin is here, he will not let you stay in those ordinary guest rooms. Jianran thought in her heart. Those guest rooms are also very expensive, okay? How are they ordinary? But compared to the independent villa area, those guest rooms are inferior. Xu Yi said again, Mrs. Qin, this is the private area. No one else can enter. You don't have to worry too much. Mrs. Qin, it was the first time. When Jianran heard someone call her that, her face turned red and her heart started to beat faster. Special Assistant Xu, just call me Jianran. Xu Yi smiled. You are Boss Qin's wife. I can't find a better name to call you than Mrs. Qin. Xu Yi's words had a hidden meaning. Jianran and Qinyue had not even held hands until now, and her face was even hotter. You go in and rest. I will leave first. Xu Yi smiled and politely withdrew. Jianran stood in the large living room and looked around, not knowing what to do. At this moment, Qinyue walked in from outside. He took Jianran's backpack and walked upstairs first. The room is on the second floor. His legs were long, but he deliberately slowed down so Jianran could keep up. Jianran followed behind him and said, Qinyue, can I discuss something with you? Qinyue opened the door and entered the house. He put Jianran's backpack on the luggage counter and said, Special Assistant Xu is arranging this kind of small matter. Jianran was speechless. All right. Qinyue walked to the window and pulled open the thick curtains. Looking out from the wide floor-to-ceiling window, he could see the endless sea. The sea in the distance seemed to be connected with the sky. As the saying goes, the sea and the sky were one. Occasionally he could hear the sound of the waves hitting the rocks. It was like a happy melody. Jianran sighed from the bottom of her heart. What a beautiful place. Qinyue said, If you like it, you can come often in the future. Jianran shook her head. I don't really like it. It was not that Jianran did not like it. It was that she could not bear to spend all the money that she had worked so hard to earn. In a place like this, She didn't want to spend Qin Yue's money either. Although Qin Yue had already given her a bank card, she had no intention of using it. If the two of them divorced one day, she would be able to walk more freely. Qin Yu could tell Jianran was not telling the truth, but he did not ask any more questions. He said, "Let's go eat and rest for a while. You still have to participate in the department activities in the afternoon." Jianran nodded. Okay. After a while, Qin Yue said awkwardly, "Jianran, if you want to soak in the hot spring tonight, you can come back and soak in the private hot spring here." Jianran instinctively shook her head. "I will just soak in the hot spring with everyone." Qin Yue said righteously, "No man wants to see his wife wear so little for other men to see." Jianran suddenly felt that Qin Yue, this man, had a strong desire to control himself. Even though he did not have any love for her, he seemed to have some objections when others looked at her more. Jianran only joined the main group after she slept in the afternoon. Lin Mei said enviously, "Jianran, you are really lucky to be able to live in a luxurious villa district." Jianran said, "It is not that convenient to live with the leader." She was referring to Qin Yue, but Lin Mei thought it was Xu Huiyi. She nodded in agreement. "You are right. It is more interesting to play with familiar people. Why don't you squeeze with us tonight?" "Forget it." Jianran did not dare to agree. What if Qin Yue came to find her in the middle of the night? In order for everyone to have fun, the Human Resources Department prepared many interesting activities. According to the department, they were divided into 4 teams: red, blue, yellow, and green. The first activity was a beer drinking competition. A 2-liter large cup was filled with beer, and a man and a woman each took a straw to drink. The winner would be the one who finished drinking first. The last group of people who finished drinking received the punishment of taking a big risk. Each team was the first to invite the department manager to accept the challenge. In the first round, Jianran's red team won the first place in the competition. The yellow team finished drinking, and the members accepted the punishment of truth and adventure. When yellow team was receiving the punishment, the aloof CEO arrived. For a moment, he became the focal point of everyone. Qin Yu gestured for everyone to continue playing. He sat to the side and quietly watched the competition. CEO came, and everyone restrained their behavior. However, when the host announced the second game project, everyone cast aside their concerns. The second game was the apple eater game. They tied an apple up with a rope, and each group picked a man and a woman, starting from the 2 sides of the apple. The last group that finished eating would be subjected to the cruel punishment of being drenched in ice water. Jianran was a great contributor to this project. The members of the red team unanimously pushed her out to accept the challenge. Jianran could not shirk her guilt as she glanced at Qin Yue. She saw that his expression was changeable. Her courage could not help but increase a little as she walked over. Wang Weiming of the red team also took the initiative to stand up, wanting to fight with Jianran. At this time, Xu Huiyi also looked at Qin Yue, but what she saw was different from what Jianran saw. She immediately clapped her hands and said, "Does everyone want to let Boss Qin play?" Everyone wanted to, but no one dared to mention it. Since Special Assistant Xu had spoken, everyone became bolder. Everyone shouted in unison, "Boss Qin! Boss Qin! Boss Qin!" Under the crowd's shouting, Qin Yu slowly got up after a while. Looking at his cold expression, it seemed like he had no choice but to accept the challenge. Seeing him walk down the stage, Jianran kept praying in her heart, hoping that he would not choose her, but Qin Yu just had to walk to the opposite side of her. Now, everyone let out excited screams. The girls were filled with regret. If they had known that Director Qin would participate, they would have fought with all their might for this challenge, even if they were drenched to the ground. In contrast to the excitement of the crowd, Jane lowered her head and did not even dare to look at Qin Yue. If she had known that Qin Yue was going to participate, she would not have come. The host shouted, "Get ready." The members of the other 3 groups immediately approached. The 2 of them were focused on the apple that fell between them. Jianran still had her head down and wanted to admit defeat, but Qin Yu said softly at this moment, "Do you really want to lose?"